In this video, we're going to cover the introduction to the composition of two functions. Okay, so we're given this function r of x is equal to negative 2x plus 2, and then we have s of x is equal to negative x squared minus 2, and we're asked to find r of s of 3. Now, keep in mind, this could be written in a different form. It could look like this, r of s of 3. It's another with a little kind of circle in the middle there. So it's just a different way of writing the same thing. Alright, so when we do this, when you have a number on the inside, the first thing you want to figure out is what is s of 3. So let's figure that out first. So if we're finding s of 3, we're looking at the s function, and everywhere we see an x, we put in a 3 in its place. So negative, we put a 3 here, squared minus 2. Okay, so 3 squared becomes 9. It's got a negative out front, so negative 9 minus 2 gives you negative 11. Okay, now you know that s of 3 is equal to negative 11. Okay, so when we were asked to find r of s of 3, well, now we can say we're going to find r of negative 11. And that's because these are the same thing. We just figured that out. Okay, so now we need to figure out what is r of negative 11. So r of negative 11, and look at the r function. Everywhere we see an x, we're going to replace it with a negative 11. So negative 2 times negative 11 plus 2. So instead of negative 2x plus 2, it's negative 2 times negative 11 plus 2. Okay, and that's going to give us 22 plus 2, which is 24. Okay, so that's the answer to r of s of 3 is equal to 24. All right, let's look at this next one. So in this one, we're asked to find t of s of negative 1. It could be written like this, TOS of negative 1. That's kind of just a different format of writing the same thing. Okay, so the first thing we're going to find is s of negative 1. Okay, so we look at the s function, plug in a negative 1 everywhere we see an x. Okay, so there's the function, and in place of x, I'm going to write a negative 1. So this becomes negative 4 minus 1, which is negative 5. So s of negative 1 is equal to negative 5. So instead of finding t of s of negative 1, we're going to find t of what we just found, negative 5. Okay, so we plug that in now to the t function, everywhere we see an x. So here's the function. I'm not going to write the x. It was negative 4x minus 3, but I'm going to replace that with a negative 5. So these two multiply to give me 20 minus 3 is 17. Okay, so t of s of negative 1 is equal to 17. Okay, do a couple more. So in this one, we're asked to find s of t of negative 4, okay, or SOT of negative 4 is a different format. Okay, so the first thing we're finding is t of negative 4. So we look at the function t, which is negative x plus 4. So negative parentheses plus 4, and I'll put a negative 4 right there in place of where the x went. So negative times a negative is a positive, so you get 4 plus 4, which is 8. Okay, now we take the 8 and we put it here in place of t of negative 4. So we get s of, instead of t of negative 4, s of 8. So we use the s function, and everywhere we see an x, we're going to replace it with an 8. Okay, so negative 3 times 8 is negative 24. Minus 3 is negative 27. Okay, so s of t of negative 4 is equal to negative 27. Okay, now one more. So this one we're asked to find w of u of 4. There's the alternative format. Okay, so the first thing we're finding is u of 4. So negative 2 times parentheses plus 1, that's the u function. We're going to replace the x with a 4. So that's negative 8 plus 1, which is negative 7. Okay, so we'll take that answer, negative 7, and put it right here in place of u of 4. So now we're finding w of negative 7. Okay, so we've got 2 times parentheses squared plus 1, and inside this parentheses I'm going to put the negative 7. Okay, now if you square a negative number, it becomes positive, right? Okay, it's negative 7 times negative 7, so two negatives multiply to get a positive, and that's 49. Okay, so you get 2 times 49 positive plus 1. Okay, and that gives you 98 plus 1, which gives you 99. Okay, so we know that W of U of 4 is equal to 99.